The way that the exhibit is hung, there are different pieces from different eras, so to speak, mixed in. This earlier section, I'm known for a lot of heavy-duty piecing and wonky circles, and I started a series called Memory Loss. That this is 2 in a series of 8, and it was really kind of documenting my mom's and my mother-in-law's battle with the disease. And it's interesting. One of the things that I like about these 2 pieces is people often have different interpretations, which I think as an artist you want people to engage with your work. There's not one way to view it. For me, it was this whole idea of, my mom was an artist. She was a potter. She did mostly raccoon pots, so a lot of the gray tones that you see, the grays and whites, that's my mom's artwork. And so for me, when I look at this, I see her energy dissolving into a blank slate. It's the sorrow and it's the loss of creativity. That piece is also part of the memory loss. It really is about my mother-in-law. When my mother-in-law got Alzheimer's at age 54. In fact, it was so early that when we heard the diagnosis of Alzheimer's, everybody said, "Oh, thank God, she's not, doesn't have a mental problem." Minna was brilliant. Okay, she was a mathematician. At the end of her conscious period, I would call it, she would try and express herself, but she had lost words. And at one point, she was really frustrated with somebody, and she said, "Oh, he's so impossible. He's a radish," which we found hysterical. And the reason, and now David and I, anytime we're finding something that's inexplicable, we say, he's such a radish. I think the reason that this was an important piece for me is going from Alzheimer's, dementia with anyone, you need to keep a sense of humor. It is so tragic and it's so difficult that you have to learn to laugh. And there were many occasions with Minna that we were able to find humor in something that's tragic. This piece is titled "The Day After Number 5, May 25th, 2020. And that is the day that George Floyd was murdered. And I have a series that is called The Day After. They're all political in nature, and they're generally the way I feel the day after. And each one is a little bit different. This one was police brutality. I started this with the anxiety series. There's nothing here for that, but it was a period in my life where I was very anxious. And I got rid of that anxiousness by taking a rotary cutter and basically cutting through fabric. And that gave me a series of fairly good lines. And then at some point, I actually developed a technique where I could actually cut circles out. So all of my work is pieced. There's no applique, there's no fusing. And the circles are deliberately wonky, Audrey could get them perfect. I have no doubt, okay? And they'd be stunning. That's not what I'm going for, but that whole arm motion for me is, I find honestly, it's my yoga, it's my way of getting my energy out. That one I did this year. My son had a traumatic brain injury. My son played football for Michigan. He's a big, tough guy. And when he went to get blood drawn, routine blood drawn, he fainted and crushed his skull. And he's fine, by the way. He's really fine. But so this is that pain that I felt because it was, there's a lot of times I can't do anything. We can't go hug a 37-year-old when there's COVID, and when the only person allowed in was his wife. When I was trying to source Japanese indigo, and I found this fabric, and I said, okay, I'll go check it out. And I ordered a couple of meters from China. It is extraordinary. It is 13 inches wide. It is basically, it is white material that is dyed indigo, is then over-dyed with a combination of ox blood, persimmon skins, and walnut shells. And that will give you either black or it will give you a variety of brands. And I saw this, and then it's actually coated. One side is coated with egg yolk and eaten with mallets. Okay, and what that does is it gives you this shiny area. So the flat area is one side of the fabric. The shiny area is the egg-coated side of the fabric. And I just, fell in love with this whole, glowing flat thing. I come from a graphic design background, and the truth is that I've always liked gloss varnishes and dull varnishes. I've used that a lot in my work. And this was an opportunity for me to start to play with it. I took a lot of years to figure out how to use it. I spent 4 or 5 years not producing anything, and then that piece over there is number 8. It's the first one that I did that I thought was successful, and I knew how to work with the fabric. But it took me 8 pieces to get to where I wanted to get to where I wanted to go. Some of the pieces, like this one, there's another couple in the series, and this one are self-portraits of a sort. I ran a business in the male world for 37 years, so I needed to portray myself as pretty strong and unassailable and no cracks, and then I retired. And people had always thought of me as a very strong, independent woman and an extrovert, and I'm not that at all. I'm an introvert, completely, And there's lots of different parts of me. I think the whole idea behind me is if you look from far away, you're going to see a large, shape that looks pretty strong. If you get up closer and investigate more, you'll see the nuance that is really the way I feel about myself. This piece and that piece and those 2 pieces were, I had to make the difficult decision of putting my mother in assisted living. This piece I did the day I got home we had to tear apart her house. I lived in since birth, and she lived in for 70 years. And we had to do it in a very short amount of time. It was gutted, and it was very difficult for me. So that series really kind of reflects the inside turmoil that I felt about taking my mom from one place to another. At this point, I've introduced acrylics into my work. Then I started actually doing more work on top of material. This piece is same time frame as my son's brain injury, a very close friend who was a gifted photographer, just gifted, one of the most creative people who suffered a stroke and died, and very suddenly, unexpectedly young. And so this piece is called Stroke, and it just reflected, my feeling about Kate going from one of the most vibrant people in the world to nothing. She was in a coma for 3 months, so it was a very difficult time because we knew she was not going to wake up, and we knew that creativity was in the end. This is a piece that started out as 87 inches by 87 inches. And I think I love this piece because I think it really it reflects the idea that you have to constantly edit. And I will say my phone is my best tool. When, I will be working on something and I have an idea of something, and when it comes down to actually cropping it, that phone is indispensable. And often the piece completely changes. And this piece I walked in every single morning and felt like it was off, it was not right. And it is now 37 by 37, and I like it. And I did this piece because I liked that, but I felt like the size was not important enough. I think size for me is important. And the rest are very similar vein. They're feelings of anxiety, turmoil. But the one thing I would say is that people, that people read about me, and often, I am an emotional person. I deal with a lot of complex emotions, but I'm a really happy person. Okay, I am not depressed. I am not. I deal with subjects that originate in a strong emotion, but while I'm working on it, I am in my happy place, and I'm not despairing. I'm not sitting there as I work on memory loss crying. I may start with something that's hard to grapple with, but the process is really something that I very much enjoy. So, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.